Influence operations, data collection, even geolocation efforts, algorithms that suppress certain views and inflate others. How can any American in any position of power not move immediately to force this 100% sale of the company TikTok from the Communist Chinese? How's there anyone against this?
Because TikTok's popular. People like it. And the reason why they like it, what makes TikTok so good, is that it has this artificial intelligence that knows you better than you know yourself. It's literally reading your mind. The more you use it, the more it knows about you. The problem is not that TikTok has that. The problem is that ByteDance and their engineers in China are the ones that own that artificial intelligence. And so as long as ByteDance owns the artificial intelligence that powers TikTok, we got a Trojan horse living inside our country. Their parent company is under the complete control, period, of a foreign government that's hostile to the United States.
Now, it's been said that China's relationship with the United States will be one of the defining factors of the 21st century. Relations between the two superpowers have been strained in recent years over a host of issues, including trade, human rights, spying allegations, and Taiwan.
China, Russia and Iran are holding joint naval exercises this week near the Gulf of Oman.
Well, during much of the Cold War, Soviet Russia and Communist China were at odds, but especially since the start of the Ukraine war, the two authoritarian neighbours have been forging deeper ties and now appear to be positioning themselves as geopolitical counterweights to the US.
As the title of our discussion implies, today's global order is not working for everyone. In fact, I would go further and say it's not working for anyone.
So vital is China to Moscow now that the President Vladimir Putin has described Beijing and Russia's relationship as being without borders.
Китая непосредственно. Мы готовы кооперироваться во всех областях. У нас нет никаких...
As for China itself, we are ready to cooperate in all areas. We don't have any restrictions. This also applies to military technology. As we think about the future world order, about ensuring our security.
The Philippines has accused China of stirring up trouble in the South China Sea. That's after Chinese vessels fired a water cannon at one Philippine ship and collided with another in some of the world's most contested waters.
Chinese ships were trying to block a supply mission to the second Thomas Shoal, a reef occupied by the Philippines that China claims as its own, along with most of the South China Sea.
The Chinese Coast Guard conducted provocative, unilateral, illegal, and unprofessional acts that is conduct unbecoming of a Coast Guard officer.
China's Coast Guard fleet is now the largest in the world, and analysts say altercations like this show it's taking on a more aggressive role in pursuing Beijing's maritime interests. It recently ramped up patrols around the Taiwanese islands of Jinmen, territory within eyeshot of the Chinese mainland, which Beijing views as its own. But all that stoking fears maritime spats could spiral into great power conflict involving the United States. The US is Taiwan's most important ally and arms provider, and Manila has a mutual defense treaty with Washington.
With no path to de-escalation in sight, some of the world's most contested waters may see more tension and more potential for miscalculation in the weeks and months to come.
Let's focus on Russia. President Vladimir Putin says Moscow ready for nuclear war if threatened.
Putin's latest warning to the West as some NATO nations like France and Poland refuse to rule out sending troops to Ukraine.
The 2024 annual threat assessment of U.S. intelligence is warning the U.S. is facing, quote, an increasingly fragile global order this year. The report also says that, quote, ambitious but anxious China, a confrontational Russia, some regional powers such as Iran, and some more capable non-state actors are challenging long-standing rules of the international system as well as U.S. primacy within it.
Now, Iran in recent years has in fact stepped up its military cooperation with Russia and China as its ties with the United States remain pretty strained.
Against the backdrop of rising armed conflict in the Red Sea, it is the second time that China has conducted joint drills in the Indian Ocean since the outbreak of Israel-Hamas war. China has warships stationed at a naval base in Djibouti near the Red Sea. It has not officially condemned the Houthi attacks.
The naval forces of the Yemeni armed forces, with the help of Allah the Almighty, carried out a targeting operation against the American ship Pinocchio in the Red Sea with a number of appropriate naval missiles, and the hit was accurate.
The Houthi leader previously pledged that attacks will escalate if what he calls the brutal aggression against Gaza does not stop.
I mean, it underscores the fact that the United States is facing global security challenges on a scale we certainly haven't seen since the Cold War, and most likely, since World War II. I mean, just look at the facts of it. Our adversaries are considerably more aggressive. Russia invaded Ukraine with the objective of expanding into NATO and trying to break the NATO alliance, which obviously would mean a major war in Europe. We got Iran, who's operationalized all of their proxies with two stated objectives: to drive the United States out of the Middle East region and to destroy the state of Israel. And they are about that every single day, and we don't even talk about Iran. And then we have China, who's obviously very aggressive, attempting to dominate the Indo-Pacific region, replace the United States as the world's global leader. How do we know that? Because they talk about it all the time. And also, all of these countries are undermining the civil society in the United States. China is conducting aggressive cyber espionage on a regular basis. Russia has huge influence operations that are ongoing as we speak, and Iran is stepping up their game as well. I mean, the United States is clearly under attack here in our homeland and also in all of our interests overseas. And where was a discussion of this in the State of the Union?
And the House has voted to pass a bipartisan bill that could lead to a nationwide ban of TikTok.
And Diane, to set this into context, this is really just the latest shoe to drop in the broader U.S.-China technology Cold War, the effort to try and split off sensitive technologies from each other. The U.S. has banned giant Huawei telecommunications firm from the United States, but to move into the arena of apps and software behind export controls on chips and telecommunications, that would have a sweeping effect because there are many Chinese companies that are influential in the software space in the United States.
It's our adversary, our most powerful adversary. And we're just giving them all this information because they got some well-heeled lobbyists on Capitol Hill.
Our world is facing existential challenges, but the global community is more fragmented and divided than at any time during the past 75 years. Even the Cold War era was, in some ways, less dangerous. A global order that works for everyone must address these gaps and provide solutions. Excellencies, if countries fulfill their obligations under the UN Charter and international law, every person on earth would live in peace and dignity. Excellencies, it is clear that our world is in deep trouble. Global governance in its present form is entrenching divisions and fueling discontent. We must work based on justice with renewed urgency and solidarity. There is always an opportunity to create a more inclusive, comprehensive, and effective global order that works for everyone based on international law. A safer world and a bigger pie for all. That is the objective of the UN Summit of the Future in September. Let's seize the opportunity, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Secretary.